What do a flock of sheep and a mysterious murder in the British countryside have in common? Let's unravel the sheep detectives.
Hi, I'm Leah, feeling curious today.
And I'm Garrett, excited to dig into this woolly mystery with you. Welcome to Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett.
Okay, here we go. From the top. Today it's all about The Sheep Detectives, the 2026 mystery comedy that, yes, puts actual sheep at the center of a whodunit in an English village. That's so wild.
All right, let's set the stage for this one. The Sheep Detectives is directed by Kyle Balda, written by Craig Mazin, and it's based on the 2005 novel 3 Bags Full by author Leonie Swan. It's a live-action and CGI hybrid, meaning real locations and people blended with computer-generated animal performances. CGI means computer-generated imagery stitched into real footage.
Here's something to get us started. Quick story. When I was a kid, I loved detective books so much that I once tried to solve a backyard mystery with my stuffed sheep, and for one summer, a very patient neighbor's actual sheep named Buttercup. I drew a suspect board with crayons, interrogated my little brother about missing cookies, and assigned Buttercup to surveillance duty. She mostly chewed dandelions, but I swear she looked very judgmental, which felt on brand for a detective.
That's pretty cool, right? Honestly, the movie kind of taps into that vibe. It's a cozy whodunit. Cozy just means the mystery is more about clever clues and community than grisly details, and the twist is that the sheep are the investigators. The film finds humor and heart in their point of view, but also deals with loss in a gentle, kid-accessible way.
Let's unpack this. The human cast includes Hugh Jackman as George Hardy, the shepherd whose death kicks off the plot. You also meet Nicholas Braun as Tim Derry, the village police officer, and Nicholas Galitzine as a reporter named Elliot Matthews. Emma Thompson, Hong Chow, and Molly Gordon round out key village roles. On the voice side, Julia Louis-Dreyfus plays Lily the Ewe, Chris O'Dowd is Mopple the Merino ram with a perfect memory, and Bryan Cranston is Sebastian, a tough ram with a past.
And the tone, like you said, rides that line between silly and sincere. Director Kyle Balda brings an animation-forward touch, while writer Craig Mazin builds the puzzle and the dialogue. Reviewers said the sheep scenes sing, and the village intrigue is, a little thinner. But overall, people dug it. It even got an A- from CinemaScore, which is a survey of opening night moviegoers, and strong recommend numbers from PostTrack, another audience polling service.
Let's dig into this. Beginning of the story. George Hardy, the shepherd, is found dead out in the meadow. One of his palms is stained blue, the other looks green. Right away, it's odd and a little theatrical, which primes the mystery.
His flock adores him. George has been reading them murder mysteries at night, which is adorable and plot necessary. So when he dies, the sheep, led by Lily, pick up the investigation. Lily is sharp and curious. Mopple remembers everything, like an internal archive. And Sebastian is the protector, imposing but soulful.
The sheep also have a belief system. They think when they die, they turn into clouds. And they can, in their words, will themselves to forget things that are too scary. It's folklore that keeps them feeling safe, at least for a while.
Meanwhile, the village is full of potential suspects. There's a will reading. We learn George had twins years ago, a daughter named Rebecca Hampstead who shows up, and a son named Peter Van Vuren who lives in South Africa and appears by video. That's a classic whodunit setup, inheritance and all.
And the will is messy. An older will left about $30 million to the SPCA, which is the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, basically an animal welfare charity. But a newer will names Rebecca as heir. Instant motive, right?
Totally. Then there's this found object. A sheep named Cloud discovers Rebecca's bangle near where George died. Cloud is voiced by Regina Hall and kind of gives the case a nudge. The bangle looks bad for Rebecca, especially when she says she never met George.
Tim Derry, the police officer, trusts straightforward clues early on. He finds poisonous berry residue in Rebecca's boot soles. Poison plus the money plus the bangle, and suddenly Rebecca looks like the obvious culprit.
But Lily isn't buying the neat solution. She keeps the flock focused. They've got genre literacy from George's readings, and they know a tidy frame-up when they see one.
Middle stretch. We start learning about George's secret wealth. He invented a blue-colored medicine for orf, which is a contagious skin disease in sheep and goats. He sold the patent and became a quiet millionaire. That explains the fortune and ties to the blue stain on his hand.
Why is that important? Because orf medicine puts color on contact, like a dye. So if that blue turns up where it shouldn't, it's not just messy, it's meaningful. It's a breadcrumb that points to who handled what and when.
On top of that, the village is not exactly squeaky clean. Caleb Marrow, another shepherd nearby, and Ham Gilliard the butcher are secretly slaughtering sheep off the books. Lily and Mopple discover this. It darkens the stakes. The meadow isn't just pastoral, it can be predatory.
There's a tense chase with Caleb's German shepherds. Sebastian steps up, fights them off to save Lily and Mopple, and he's fatally injured. Not gonna lie, that hits different. It pushes the flock to confront death for real, rather than as a cloud story.
And because Sebastian dies protecting them, Lily has to face memories she's been trying to erase. Mopple, with his perfect recall, becomes a kind of conscience, reminding her that remembering is part of justice. That dynamic is the emotional backbone of the film.
Meanwhile, Rebecca is under arrest, but Lily experiences an encounter with George's ghost. Now, whether that's an actual spirit or just Lily's grief taking shape, it kicks her reasoning into gear. She and Mopple then recruit the Winter Lamb, this little outcast George once protected, to sneak a painted message into the jail for Tim.
That message nudges Tim to re-examine the color puzzle. He's earnest and a little in over his head, but he's teachable. And I love that. He starts seeing that the simplest explanation might be planted evidence rather than truth.
The flock also pieces together that someone carefully forged documents and staged details. It's not just opportunistic, it's planned. That circles us back to the blue and the green on George's hands.
Endgame. Tim realizes the key. Both of George's hands should be blue from his orf medicine, but one palm turned green. That suggests the blue mixed with something yellowish, specifically blonde hair dye. Blue plus yellow makes green. Color theory for the win.
And that's the fair play clue. The supposed reporter, Elliot Matthews, has dyed blonde hair. Elliot is actually Peter Van Vuren, George's son, in disguise. He used that false identity to steer the story and frame Rebecca. The green stain is the literal chemical signature of his disguise brushing against George's hand.
Why go to all that trouble? Because Peter forged a will to give Rebecca a motive and assumed once she was convicted, he'd inherit by default as next of kin. It's cruel but calculated. The forged paper trail plus planted items like the bangle almost seals it.
The animals get the last laugh, though. Twin rams Ronnie and Reggie, named after infamous British gangsters, ram Peter's getaway car. The wheels come off, literally and metaphorically. Tim arrests him. Rebecca's released.
Then comes healing. Rebecca learns her and Peter's mother was named Lily, which echoes our "you, Lily." She adopts George's surname and takes responsibility for the flock and the meadow. That felt right to me. Accountability with compassion.
Caleb's subplot resolves too. Rebecca buys his French-speaking sheep to save them from slaughter. It's a sweet, slightly goofy grace note. The meadow becomes a bigger, kinder community.
And Lily adopts the Winter Lamb, names him George, and looks up to see a cloud that resembles Sebastian. Earlier, clouds meant escape. Now they signal remembrance, not forgetting but carrying love forward. That one gave me chills.
Christoph Beck's score leans playful but tender, and the credits roll with a remixed I'm Gonna Be, 500 Miles, by the Proclaimers. Feels like devotion and distance closed. You'd walk those miles for your flock.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The sheep keep choosing to forget scary memories. Is that magical realism or a metaphor for coping with trauma? Magical realism, just to define it, is when small magical elements live inside a mostly realistic world, and everyone treats it like it's normal.
I'm kind of on the magical realism side. The forgetting functions like an actual power in their world. It has rules and consequences, and the ghostly moment with George nudges it into a lightly enchanted field, you know?
I hear that, but I see it as metaphor. Kids and adults both avoid painful memories. The film just externalizes the avoidance so we can talk about it. Mopple's perfect recall becomes the moral center saying, hey, memory isn't punishment. It's how we do right by people we lost.
So why not both? The ambiguity lets families read it the way that's helpful. If you want comfort, it's a fable with clouds. If you want growth, it's a story about choosing to remember even when it aches. That's a solid point.
Real talk. That dual reading is probably why critics said it balances humor and grief so well. It respects kids without overwhelming them, and it invites a conversation afterward about what remembering actually does for a community.
Pop culture vibes. The closing theme being the Proclaimers' 500 Miles, remixed, stamps it with that loyal, I'll show up for you energy. And tonally, people compared it to Babe for its animal-led heart and to Murder, She Wrote for its cozy clue trail pacing.
Counterfactual time. What if Peter hadn't dyed his hair blonde? No blonde dye, maybe no green stain on George's hand. Without that, Tim doesn't get the aha moment. So where would the investigation turn next?
All right, let's roll on. Without the green hand clue, Rebecca might stay the prime suspect. The planted bangle and the berry residue keep pointing at her. The frame-up could work. Maybe Tim asks why the evidence feels a bit too perfect, but he lacks the decisive link to Peter.
So who saves the day then? I think Mopple's memory becomes the pressure point. He remembers timing details from the will reading, like when Elliot the reporter arrived and who touched what. If Elliot's timeline conflicts with travel times or phone logs, that could crack the disguise. Forensics, meaning evidence analysis, could still catch a mismatch.
Yeah, and Lily already suspects a frame. She might push the Winter Lamb gambit again. A new painted message to Tim about the forged will's typeface or paper stock. Small stuff like that can undo a forgery. Paper trails are stubborn.
Another route, Peter's accent or idioms. If Elliot slips with a South African phrasing while claiming to be a British reporter, Mopple would clock it. He remembers words the way other folks remember faces. It's subtle, but juries love those human tells.
Even then, without the green hand chemistry, it probably takes longer. Rebecca might sit in custody for a while. The flock would need more teamwork moments. And hey, Ronnie and Reggie could still take out the getaway car. That part feels inevitable. That's one for the memory bank.
Which is why the actual film's color mixing clue is so elegant. It's fair, visible, and simple enough that kids can solve it too. Blue medicine plus blonde dye equals green. That's clean storytelling. No lab report required. Thanks for joining us in this woolly adventure.
Stay curious, folks. Until next time.